Welcome to Collections of Cinema.
Welcome to Collections of Cinema.
We don't have a theme.
We don't have a theme tune yet.
It's the first episode of It Sounds Weird Collection of Cinema because it's so new.
It does sound weird.
Like, is it a real thing?
Well, I mean, it's new for people who have never followed our other stuff before.
That's true. We're senior podcasters.
Seasoned podcasters.
Podcasters.
With probably 20 listeners on our old podcast.
So,
no, that's not true. We probably have
more. Let's quickly introduce this podcast because it's the first episode. So we thought, I have a large collection of Blu-rays. It's pretty big.
Large is an understatement.
It's pretty big.
It's
so big.
It's over 1,000 Blu-rays or something.
Massively big.
And they're all just standing in our living room.
For now.
Granted, it looks nice. We've got this nice.
So the idea was
shelf
to
for them.
To also we had another podcast just quickly, or two technically, and we shifted from the first idea to the second idea, which we did for over 100 episodes, and then we said, okay, we need to find something that we are more, or that we can easier talk about without relying on guests or scheduling, because with having a kid and stuff. So
yeah. Yes, we have a 5-month-old baby.
Yes.
So it's not so easy to record all the time, especially if we want to have guests and stuff on.
Yes. So we thought, because we did talk about movies and shows in the past.
And we watch a lot of movies.
And we watch a lot of stuff. And I have a lot of movies at home. So I thought it would be cool to incorporate that into a new format. And so this is it. This is called Collections of cinema. And the idea is to pick a movie for each episode and talk about it. And the picking of the movie is based on number between basically
one and the amount of Blu-rays that we have. Granted, this episode, full disclosure, is not that. We just decided to pick one ourselves, just what we wanted to talk about for the first episode. And in the future, we'll do more at random, which I think is also fun.
Right.
So then you never know what you're going to get. And we'll always announce the next movie at the end of each podcast. So if you want to watch along and then listen to the podcast, you can do that.
Yes. So you know what you get. So the first episode is about Deadpool, and this is number 186. So I also have to just put a little disclaimer in there that numbers change. So because if things get added to the list, to collection. So for example, if there's another number 10 added, so the numbers move down. So the numbers won't stay consistently that, because the collection is still growing.
Yes.
But at this point, it's number 186. It's Deadpool. It's a limited collector's edition steelbook. It's very nice, actually. I like it a lot. And conveniently enough, we are talking about Deadpool because the new third Deadpool movie at the point of recording is coming out in 3 weeks, or 2 weeks actually. And so I thought that would be a nice way in, because people might be interested. And I hope to release this episode at the week where Deadpool is releasing.
I guess we will.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, Deadpool was portrayed by Ryan Reynolds before that movie in Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine. And that was the first collaboration between him and Hugh Jackman, and he was very excited for the role, but the role was butchered a little bit, and he ended up as this weird mute-looking mutant thing.
He was mute?
He was mute. There was 2 scenes at the beginning where he was talking a lot. That was like a stick, and Logan was like, "Do you never shut up?" And he was like, barely, I don't know, whatever. And he got a lot of shit for his role. And the movie was not really... It's not bad. I watched all of them again for Deadpool, but it's not great.
Okay.
It has some great moments, but overall it's not great. But then, a couple of years later, he wanted to pursue this role still, because to him, the character is very dear to heart, and I can see it because he has a very, like Deadpool is a very cynical, humorous anti-hero, essentially. And I guess that's why Ryan Reynolds is drawn to that. But he was basically a driving force behind the movie. And interestingly enough, test footage got leaked in 2014.
Leaked.
And
In quotes.
There's a lot of interesting, like, people say that Ryan Reynolds leaked that footage and got that movie basically made because the fan interest was massive. And people were like, okay, yeah, this movie needs to be made. And eventually the leaking of the footage helped the movie to get the budget. And yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's interesting also. The movie got like a budget of almost 60 million, which is very low for superhero movies. Superhero movies are usually in the 100, 200 million category. And you can see it partly, but later about that, I think. But the movie, grossed 780 million worldwide, so massive hit. So of course there was a second part in making, and Ryan Reynolds finally got a shot at portraying a proper Deadpool. Yeah.
Let's maybe talk about, in case people haven't seen it.
Right, the plot.
The plot of the movie. So essentially, Deadpool, but his name is Wade Wilson, is the guy's name. He's not a contract killer. What is he? He's like a...
I mean, he's an ex-army guy.
He's hired to rough people up, essentially.
Right. He's out of the military, out of the service, and he gets paid to do like things. Yeah. Little money things or rough people up. Or
and he goes to... People. I have to say the name of the bar, and I have to do it justice because it's just so funny. He goes to a bar called Sister Margaret's School for Wayward Girls. Yeah. And he meets, I don't know if it's clear that she's a prostitute or if she's a stripper. I think she's a prostitute. Yeah. And he meets Vanessa at this bar. They, long story short, fall in love. Yeah. And then he proposes to her. Yeah. And shortly after finds out that he has late-stage cancer, where it's pretty much he's a goner. Yeah. And he decides to leave. So he packs up in the middle of the night, leaves because he doesn't want to put her through him dying. Yeah. So to her, he's gone, probably dead somewhere. Yeah. But he ends up in like this laboratory. He goes to a bar, back to the bar because his friend is the bartender, and he tells him that there's a recruiter there who wants to like turn him into a superhero and it will cure his cancer. Yeah. Yeah. And it's his last shot to staying alive, to surviving this. He's like taking that chance and ends up being tortured in this test chamber, more or less. By Francis or Ajax. Yeah. And ends up with superpowers, but horribly disfigured, which lets him to put on his suit and never takes it off. And as TJ Miller put it, he looks like, he looks like an old avocado having sex. Had sex with another older avocado, or a topical a topical map of what is it? Not Ohio, but whatever. Oh goodness. Yeah, a lot of those lines got ad-libbed by Ryan Reynolds, and he had a lot of fun doing that because you can see it. It's all his humor all over the thing. And director Tim Miller for the first one actually did a very good job. In bringing that character to life, especially with the budget of, almost 60 million. But so basically, even though he's alive now, he doesn't want to go back to Vanessa because he doesn't think that she'll accept him for what he is now, essentially. So he stays away. Yeah. Until he finds out that she gets taken, essentially, by Francis, and then has to track her down and... And then he starts working with, what are their names? The X-Men. The X-Factor. What are they called? Not X-Factor. What? X-Force. Or is that in the second one? No, that's the second one. X-Force? He creates X. No, it's the X-Men. He goes to... He gets support by the Silver Man dude. What's his name? I don't even know. It's on the tip of my tongue. I just was thinking about it. That's how much preparation goes into this thing, which is not true because we actually prepared a little bit.
But let me just quickly look this up because I am sitting at the core of... So here.
Colossus.
Negasonic. Negasonic is one of them. Negasonic Teenage Warhead, which is a very funny name. And Colossus, yeah, right.
Colossus.
Those two are basically the
Angel
X-Men.
Dust.
Yeah, Gina Carano is Angel Dust, yeah. Yeah, the movie is interesting because it came out before Endgame, 2019. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was basically almost at the height of Marvel. And the only tie-in with Marvel directly is technically the carrier, the one of the flight carriers that was shot down in Winter Soldier, I think, at the end of Winter Soldier. And that is like the only real connection to the whole MCU universe.
Mm-hmm.
Besides obviously the X-Men, but the X-Men at this point weren't really in the MCU yet. So the whole thing, and granted, Fox was still Fox. Disney didn't take over Fox yet, so or the properties of the X-Men, so it was still belonging to Fox. So it can't really reference. It could only use some of the X-Men characters, and since the money or the budget was low, they couldn't only afford certain type of X-Men characters. But yeah, in the second part, it's a little different because they had more money. But yeah, the rewatching the movie recently, I always, like in my mind, this movie always is very cheap looking, which is not true. It looks actually very good. But the sets, and you can clearly see it's not like the most or the biggest production, because the sets are not like the greatest sets, and they're not that many in the grand scheme of things. The main plot happens in this very small universe, I would say.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like it works. Like none of it
totally works.
None of it feels like it's lacking.
No, I feel like it actually furthers the movie in a way where wait, I want to just quickly. I actually think it furthers the movie in a way where they can focus more on the character and building the character out and fleshing him out. Like he was Wade Wilson, then he became Deadpool, and having like this massive budget and maybe doing too much would have maybe lost
taken away from the character development.
And so they were able to focus on the character, and the character is totally the center of the movie, and you don't get distracted by shiny sets or anything, which is kind of nice.
And also I think if it were anyone but Ryan Reynolds, it would be a different story, because I feel like he just delivers so well as that character, and like he plays Wade Wilson so well. But I feel like it's very rare for a superhero or anti-hero, whatever you want to call him. It's very rare that their alter ego is so similar to their actual, like he's Wade Wilson in a suit, or Deadpool not in a suit. He's just like, he's the same. And I like that about him, where he's just kind of this no nonsense, silly.
Also, I think Deadpool was also one of the first like proper superhero movies that also made fun of the superhero movie genre. Like, it's very self-aware. He breaks the fourth wall multiple times in the movie. He like the superhero landing bit and all that stuff. There's so much stuff in it that is very like progressive, I would say, in terms of superhero movies.
One of the first ones that's like legitimately pretty brutal.
Yeah, obviously.
Like that wasn't really a big thing with the superhero movies. You didn't really see a whole lot of gore, a whole lot, if any. It was just like implied, okay, this person's injured, or whatever. But I mean, it's so extreme.
Deadpool was 2016 and Logan came out 2017, so a year later.
Yeah.
And Deadpool was the first R-rated Marvel superhero movie. And it totally works. Yeah. You would think that DC did something like that before that, but no, not really. Deadpool was the first one, and that for sure made way for other Logan, for example, and other movies like that to be more brutal and to.
But I also think not just brutality, but also it paved the way for them to bring out some more comedic aspects in the movies. Because before that, I feel like a lot of superhero movies were very serious, very action based.
And think of Guardians. Guardians was very
most though. But I feel like once Deadpool came out, it became like more of a norm to have so many more comedic aspects in these movies.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I think Deadpool aged very well. I think
I agree.
It's for sure you can see that it's not again the most expensive movie. You can see that they didn't have that much money, but I think they did a lot with the funds they have. And like again in my mind I thought it was much cheaper looking, but rewatching it I was like, okay, no, it's not. It was just,
I mean, the end scene alone the end battle scene alone with the ship is pretty impressive for that budget, I would say.
No, sure, they have some good CG in there, and it's a solid movie in terms of that. And they did, I think, with the budget, they did the best they could. And yeah, it, as I already said, the movie did very well, and basically, the second part was inevitable. What was the name? That was the word.
What?
What is the word?
I don't know what you're thinking.
Like the second part was with that.
Inevitable.
That was the word. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Inevitable.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what else is there to say about Deadpool? I don't want to go more into too much into the nitty gritty details about it.
Do you have a favorite scene or favorite moment in the first one?
I mean, I'm not like the TJ Miller banter with him or funny, like all the stuff that happens in the bar, but then also the blind lady he lives with.
Oh, so good.
In the first part it's not as prominent, but the second part is a little better. But it's so funny, like everything. They have such good
chemistry.
Yeah,
it's so funny. He just fucks with her the whole time, and really she is just this grumpy. She's great.
Yeah,
I like every scene with TJ Miller I think is hysterical. He's so funny, and because you just know that I would be willing to bet most of his lines weren't written, and that he just threw shit out there.
No, they did a lot of that. Yeah, they did a lot of that.
And
back and forth.
I like in the beginning where he's sitting on the ledge as Deadpool, like explaining before he goes into the story, he's already Deadpool in the very beginning where he's like explaining how he got to that moment. And he's like sitting on the edge of the freeway, like at the freeway, like the overpass.
Yeah.
He's just like swinging his legs, singing Salt and Pepper.
Yeah.
And has a drawing that looks like a child drew it of like him shooting Francis in the head. Yeah. So funny. And it says ouchie. It's so funny. Yeah. And it's just like, it's a great way to start a movie. It like really grabs you right from the beginning. It's hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that movie. I love Deadpool. I think Deadpool's my favorite. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say if you can call him a superhero. I mean, he's can because he is a superhero, but he's like an anti-superhero.
He's an anti-hero, yeah. Totally is.
He's my favorite for sure.
The music.
Music is phenomenal.
They have a really good score, and I mean, granted, the funds, but they have some really bangers in there, and it adds to the whole vibe of the movie. It just, there are so many tiny. I mean, the whole, you can watch it still on YouTube. The whole leaked footage of the movie, of the first one, it leaked on YouTube, and you can still watch it. And I remember watching it, and I was like, God damn it, that needs to be a movie. And they basically reshot that whole sequence, and it's basically the beginning of the movie, which is kind of fun that they, or I don't know if they reshot it, but I guess they reshot parts of it. But it's in the movie, and it also shows that if you have something great, sometimes you have to, take measures in your own hand. And granted, nobody got hurt by that. Like, it was not a movie released for free or something. Nobody got really hurt by that. But essentially, with that leak, I think Ryan Reynolds was able to make those movies and continue to make them and the characters.
And, continue to be the character.
Right. Because otherwise, I think, I don't think that movie would have been made in that scenario because, again, back in the day, it wasn't really like, superhero movies were for kids or for young adults, and the rated R and just hard.
I remember scenes. The hype about when they announced that it was rated R, people were so excited.
Yeah. And it's so stupid because the studios are like, obviously like, we want the more people go into the movie seeing it, the better, because we make more money. But at the grand scheme of things, I mean, if you make a movie that is targeted for adults, adults will see it. More adults will see it. Yeah. Especially in the cinema. And they did a good job with, promoting. Ryan Reynolds is very good with that, promoting and advertising stuff. But he did a very good job in selling the movie the way it was. Like, hey, we didn't hold back. This is the hardest R-rated comic book movie you will see to this date. And I think that also helped promote it.
And also, think about everything that's happened since Deadpool that maybe wouldn't have happened. Obviously all of these characters, like the Deadpool movies, but then, the combination of Deadpool and Wolverine that's coming out, that's like a match made in heaven. Yeah. And then all of the stuff that Ryan Reynolds did after, like Wrexham. Who knows if Wrexham would have been a thing without Deadpool? Because I feel like that really, he was already massive, but that skyrocketed.
No, sure. Deadpool made him to this massive star because he was more like the
almost rom-com guy.
Rom-com, funny comedies. He did
like slapstick comedies.
He did Green Lantern, which he makes fun of in Deadpool a lot. And he himself calls it his worst movie. But he was not the biggest successful, I would say, like in terms of box office. He was not the massive.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was still massive. People knew who he was. Yeah, sure. You knew who Ryan Reynolds was. But Deadpool really skyrocketed his career. And I think because of that, he had all of, obviously he has like his gin company now. Yeah. And I think Wrexham is one of his greatest accomplishments with Rob. I think it's just phenomenal. So I feel like there's a lot of things that wouldn't have happened that
for sure
that Deadpool kind of opened the door for.
Yeah, for sure. That's true.
Maybe we talk about just how it ends before, because second episode of, normally we would pick a random, but because we're doing Deadpool, we decided we're going to do 1 and 2. Yeah. So the next episode is Deadpool 2. So if anyone wants to watch that one before we release it, you can. But since we're doing a second part, maybe we talk about the ending of the first one.
Sure.
So essentially, like we said, Vanessa gets taken.
Yeah.
And the last big fight scene is like on this abandoned ship or something like that.
It's the air carrier that got dropped.
And so it's just a battle between, classic superhero villain battle at the end of a movie against Tim and Francis. And Vanessa almost dies. I always think of, when I watch that scene, I think of Aladdin.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a direct reference or if it's it happens in a lot of...
I think
a lot of those old movies had stuff like that with like, the giant hourglass, the sand hourglass, and they're stuck in there and they're gonna, but she was basically put in the same chamber that he was put in, where it deprives you of oxygen. And that's like how he was supposed to.
Not really. They were in the carrier and he puts her in there because the carrier just explodes and he puts her in there and throws her down essentially in a safe way.
She was in there already. Francis put her in there and he needed to get her out.
Oh, yeah, but then he puts her in again.
He was able to put her in again without depriving the oxygen at the end to save her from the fall.
Right.
But yeah, so, he's on the clock. He's fighting against the clock before she runs out of oxygen and dies, essentially. Yeah.
There's also a fun scene where he gets stabbed in the head. And all of a sudden he sees like this drawn unicorn and birds and stuff. And he wants to play with it. And it's really funny.
Yeah, but obviously in the end he saves her,
yeah.
and then she sees his face. She's pissed because she basically on the ship finds out that he's still alive.
Yeah.
And so she's pissed at him for not telling her. And then she sees his face at the end, and there's some funny, she says something really dirty, I think. It's really funny.
Yeah. But yeah, and then they walk away and pave the way for a second part. And I don't even know if there is a after credit scene.
Oui.
I mean, we're almost done anyways.
Marley.
Wait, it's a little chaotic right now. Deadpool 2016 after credit. Is there an after credit scene? Yeah, there's one. Oh yeah, it's actually a fun scene. It's a direct reference to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And he basically walks into a hallway with like a robe on, and he's like, "Oh, you're still here? It's over. Go home." You expected a teaser for Deadpool 2. Well, we won't have that kind of money, but what do you expect? Where are you expecting to see Sam Jackson to show up? Eye patch, saucy little leather number. And then the sequel, we're going to have Cable. And then he explains a quick what who Cable is, and then he's like, "Yeah, now go." Yeah, it's a fun little nod, and there's also like the chicka chicka. The bow bow. That's the end credit scene, after credit scene. In terms of Marvel movies, like where would that movie land for you? In terms of,
I already said it's my favorite in general superhero movies. So it's
like the first
top
one
for me.
The first one.
Yeah.
It's hard for me because I love Deadpool, and I like that they have a better production value in the second one, and I like some aspects of the second one better. But
for me it's more the franchise in general.
Oh, okay, the franchise.
So I wouldn't necessarily just the first one, but
sure. Next to
it's
Guardians,
my favorite superhero franchise.
Yeah. Next to Guardians is also that Deadpool is just he's the way he is just very nonchalant and just very not serious about the whole shit, and he shits on it. He knows, like, he's self-aware, and that's the fun thing about it, because sometimes superhero movies are like a little too serious.
Yeah.
And I like that Deadpool just does it in a different way.
And if you'd give it a rating out of 10?
I'm not doing that. I don't like that.
No?
No, I don't like that. What would you give it?
I would give it a 8.5. The first one.
Yeah, I would.
Or an 8.
I would probably be in there too as well somewhere.
I'm not doing that. But I'd probably be there too.
But yeah, we would like for you people out there, what do you think about Deadpool? Where does Deadpool stand? Have you seen it? Have you not watched it? Why have you not watched it? Yeah, we would like to hear your opinion about that. And then we have the segment that always we do before we end the episode is movie of the week.
Maybe we'll have our own separate
little
jingle for movie of the week.
We will.
So maybe just what's a little jingle for movie of the week? Okay, wow, very simple and to the point.
So okay, we watched a couple of movies this week, and contenders are Everybody Wants Some from 2016. Interestingly,
yeah, I didn't know that.
Richard Linklater, The Bike Riders, 2023 or 4, depending how you see it, and The Graduate, 1967.
Yes, but specifically, we are talking about Everybody Wants Some.
Yeah, because that's the movie of the week for us.
Yes, that's one we enjoyed the most.
Yeah, just a quick. I don't want to. We don't go into the whole thing,
just
but it's
a quick synopsis.
It's Richard Linklater. I mean, if you know him, you know him. Great Texan director. He, I don't know. It's a very simple movie. It's basically this frat guys, or that house of baseball players who are
college baseball players.
Baseball players who are there because they got a scholarship, and so they have to be good in playing baseball. And
but it's not really about baseball.
Nah, it's not. It's about it's set in the 70s, I think, and it's just very like laid back, and they have fun. They have parties, and it's about girls.
It's one of those movies that's like I miss when people made movies like that because it felt for 2016. It felt very much like movies that were made in like the early mid 2000s where it's like, you know, like not in terms of comedy stylings but in terms of style in general, like American Pie, or you know, just like these groups of people.
It's 80s, 1980
group of people just kind of shooting the shit, you know, and there's no real main storyline really.
Not really. It's basically the first couple of days.
It's the days leading up to the start of the semester.
I mean, a lot of people say it's like a spiritual successor to Dazed and Confused, also by him, and it totally works because that movie also encapsulates kind of that feeling of college life style.
But it's just fun. It's a fun movie. It's funny. It's I really enjoyed it. It was a nice. It felt nostalgic for being 2016. When it came out, obviously not when it took place.
No, it's a very good movie. So that's the movie of the week.
Movie of the week.
That's it.
Movie of the week.
Yeah. Movie of the week. Okay, that's it. First quick episode. Let us know what you think. Also, we are like the second episode is going to be Deadpool 2.
Yep.
The super duper cut. And after that, we will probably let you decide what number of movie we will do.
Yeah, we're still figuring out the logistics of how to do it, but somehow it will be randomized.
Right. It will be randomized.
Yeah. If you like the podcast, please like it, subscribe. For those listening just on a, podcast, whatever, what is it called? Platform. We are also starting a YouTube channel where you can watch the podcast. So hi. And we won't always look our best.
The thing is, it's not about, I think.
Like we said, we have a 5-month-old, so
also
we might just look tired all the time.
We keep it real. Right now, it's just one camera angle, and we might add. The thing is, I would like to have 2 more, like a close-up of you and a close-up of me. But then that would also mean a lot of editing on my hand. And so that's something to be planned in the future. If you like what you see and subscribe and let us know, then we will do that, because I have the means. I have all the cameras here. It's more about putting in the time right now with all the other stuff or not. But,
so if you enjoy it, please let us know. Subscribe, comment on YouTube, review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I think you can also review.
Also, again, I think it's pretty clear. We're fans. I'm a movie buff, but I'm not like super well known like someone who is like Quentin Tarantino or something. So it's more a subjective view on movies, and it's not like a very professional.
But it's also, I think we have 2 nice perspectives, because I know little to nothing about like what goes into a production of a movie. I just enjoy watching them, and so I am very much just this is the opinion of the average viewer. And I think you have a little bit more knowledge into how things work a little bit, and you're also interested in more like the background of how things like got made. And shout out to the podcast, How Did This Get Made? It's a great podcast, another movie podcast. It's fantastic. So I think we bring maybe a fun, different perspective to it. Then,
That's it. Until next time.